Hello, America. This is Eddie Marcus again. You know, we must take care to see that some of the crazy things that we as a people have been doing over the past lifetime, and especially highlighted over the past couple of years, that we stop doing those kinds of things. You see, what we have now is a president of the United States which must go, and he must go now, along with the system that permitted him into the office of the U.S. presidency. And my concern to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that we set out today to create a better society. Not to make America great again, I don't know what that means, but to make it a better society, I definitely know what that means. It means that any productions of goods and services that's to be experienced and shared by the people are to be for the people, for the benefit of the people, all of the people, and not for money. In other words, your careers must be exercised for the betterment of humankind and not for money. The reason is that money takes away humanity, and all of a sudden it's all about self and money. Now, we allowed ourselves a few years ago to see ourselves as we really are. We exposed ourselves. We as a nation who call ourselves the most divine nation on the face of the earth since the beginning of time, you know, we always like to say that about ourselves. That's selfishness. That is nothing but selfishness. And during the last presidential election, there were those who were running against Trump as a Republican who exposed Trump for what he is. All of the documentations exposed Trump for what he is. And yet he was put before the American people as being their spokesman. And another one who, when they were put before the people, they were viewed as evil representation. And this holy United States of America accepted the fact that evil was its choice. And the only thing they could come up with is the lesser of two evils. And they voted for evil. And that one that they called the lesser of the two evils were empowered to become the most radical and humongous evil on the face of the earth. This is the benefit of the American people. This is who we, the people, are. And if you don't believe it, look at all of the ugliness that this man has engaged in since he has been president of the United States. Look how people talk about him all over the world. There's nothing good that can be said about him. Even by those that support him, there's nothing good that can be said about him. But you know what? Right now, he is looking for and has the support of at least a third of this nation to become the president of the United States again. Again. And so when I look at you, I think about you. I think about God and you. Those of you who fill the churches, those of you who decided not to believe in God any longer because of the people that fill the churches. You talk about God and God's love and God's wonderfulness and God's peace and prosperity and joy and freedom and fulfillment of dreams. God offered that to you, the American people, several times. Yes, I was the vessel. Me, a black person, a person who has no money, but could feel and understand at least the love of God because he had shown it to me. And so he allowed me to come before you, the American people, and offer that same love and that same honor to you. And you rejected it. You rejected it 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times you rejected God's message of love for you, the human race. And now you are considering bringing the devil back as a second term. Now, ladies and gentlemen, truth of the matter is being president is too consuming, especially in the system that we live under. Now, let me tell you something about this system that no one perhaps has ever told you before. This system, like all other systems, was designed to keep you from following the system of God. I know that's hard for you to believe, but it was designed purposefully, just like every other system that exists on the face of the earth. Every last one of them was designed, including the United States of America. Its system of government was designed to deny the system of God's government. Think about how America was founded. Even though there were those that were living here already, there were people pursuing much more grandeur than they had at their homes. And so they decided to strike out and see what they could create on their own. But when they got out, they found out that there was nothing to create because everything was already created. And so what they decided to do was to take, was to abuse, was to kill and destroy and take. And this is what they did. Running away from bondage to freedom, only to find freedom in the bondage of others. Taking land, making slaves, starting wars. That is the kind of stuff that reigns in hell, not in a place where God reigns. And this was accepted. It was accepted because the choice was to treat people as you want to be treated, to use the resources of the earth so that everybody could survive, and not only that, but live abundantly. That was the choice. And America turned its back on it and said no. And in 2016, rather than get closer to God, they got further from God than they could ever get. They brought Trump in. And Trump says, let's go back to the time when we took the Indians' land. Let's go back to the time when niggers were slaves. Let's go back to the times when the only people that mattered were not just white people, but people with money. They are the only ones that matter. And this is the proposal that he has before the American people today. Shut the borders down. Let nothing come in here except white people. And they got to have money. And if anybody else come in here, they got to have something to offer the white people, so the white people can benefit from it, and they must be subservient to white people. This is what Trump is offering. And the Republican Party is going for it. Now they are hoping that this Supreme Court justice, they're hoping that she die so they can place in another conservative devil into the Supreme Court. And they think that from now on, as long as anybody living today can see, that they will have control over the United States of America, which means the devil will be in full charge of the United States of America. Now, I hear this, I see this, I know this. Maybe you don't. But I cannot call myself a child of God, even though I have no desire to be spokesman for you, the people. And I'm not spokesman for you, the people. I'm a spokesman for God. I speak to you about what God's plan is for human beings that follow God. I speak to you about what it means when he says, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's what I speak to you about. And I speak to you about that because you have identified yourselves in love with demonicness, that you are in love with evil. Even those of you who are against Trump, you're not in love with God. You don't want what God wants for the human race. You Democrats, you are against what Trump is doing. You are against what the Republicans are doing. But are you for God? I ask you, individuals, wherever you are right now, I ask you, most of you, none of you are really calling yourselves out for God. I don't care if you go to church or not. But as Democrats, do you think you're for God's plan? Do you think that democracy is for God's plan? Do you? You of course not. You know it's not. And yet, as you listen to me today, it is your choice over God's plan. Some of you are saying, we don't care about any of that. We just want Trump beat. We just want Trump beat. At least hell won't be so bad. Hell will be a little bit better off without Trump. Isn't that a sad statement to say about people who call themselves progressive? Isn't that a sad statement to say about people who call themselves the most divine people on the face of the earth since the beginning of time? Isn't that a sad statement to say about people? And listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know the message that you got for me? The message that you got for me is this. I don't care how old you are, Eddie Marcus. Go get yourself a job and enjoy this hell that God is allowing us to live in. That's what you say to me. That's your thought when it comes down to me. Go help out so things won't be so tight for this family, this selfish family. Go help out. I know that's what the whole country thinks about anybody that's looking out for the people. You say you want somebody to look out for you, but you're saying that in a selfish nature. Why do you think the football team prays to God to help them win? Each football team. One always wins, one always loses. Did the one that win have the support of God? No, you had the support of your efforts and your commitment to winning. Did the one who lose, was God against them? No, they just weren't prepared. And in this system that we live in today, we live here because these are the choices that we make. You have been put before you good and evil, and you have chosen evil. You perhaps have not had the education. You are not familiar with good as you are with evil. But you profess to want good, but you give everything for evil. So I say to you today, in my way of thinking, it is time for Trump to go. It's not about 2020. This man is corrupt and has no business representing anybody that's connected to God. And that being the case, it's time for him to go. And the system that allowed him to be in office, it's time for it to go. It is time we be better and create a better society. A society that works for the people. All of us. Men, women, old and young, black and white. It's time for the system works for all of us. That the careers that we have, that we engage ourselves in, is for the production of goods and services for all of us, for our benefit. No more the haves and the have-nots. Eradicate the have-nots, and everybody represent the haves. Everybody represent the haves. Now, I know how you feel about what I'm saying, and yet I got to go out before you and tell you and ask you to make a choice between good and evil. I got to ask you to make a choice between the devil and God. I got to ask you to make a choice between Trump and not just another lesser Trump, but something as great for goodness and beauty as Trump is for ugliness. I got to ask you to do that. Now, who will benefit from the pain and suffering of Trump? All of you. Who would benefit from the love and blessings from trusting in God's plan? Every last one of you. But what will you give voice to? See, the evilness, the ugliness, is requiring money to get the message out to you. And it costs a lot of money. So you got to go to the most evil people in America to get that money so you can be heard, so you can be put before the public. You have someone to speak to you about love and compassion and God, and there is not one penny that is asked of you, because no one that's speaking for God want to use the tool of Satan to speak to you. I speak to you in truth. I speak to you in love and compassion. And if that is any part of you, then there's no money that is required. Because your soul will be glad. Your soul will rejoice. And your telephone will start jumping. Your friends, your neighbors, and your co-workers will know exactly what you know. The internet service, all of your friends will know, and it'll be all across the country. If you cared, if you had a little God in you, if you had a little God in you. Now, I go to church and I listen to people testify. And I know doggone well they don't know a stinking thing about God. And I listen to their preachers tell you about my Bible says. I know they don't know a stinking thing about God. And I have to sit there and listen to you listen to that garbage. And I have to sit there and just watch you listening to that garbage. And that's all you're talking about, garbage. Are you talking about the duties and responsibilities of one that loved God in a situation as the one that we find ourselves in today? You don't even talk about it. You talk about hogwash. You talk about things that have nothing to do with life today. And why? Because it's been instilled in the book that you use to keep you blind. They say that religion is the opiate of the people. It is. Because nowhere is religion saying to you, treat your neighbor right and don't let anybody get away with treating them wrong. Where is religion saying that? It's not saying it any place. It's all about selfishness. It's all about money and you. And to hell with everybody else. So, yes, I stand here today gladly. I wish somebody else was standing here representing God, but it's not. So it's me. So I stand here and say to you, you can vote for the devil or you can vote for God. Now, who is voting for the devil? The voting for the devil is voting for anyone else other than that one that stands up for all of the people. And it doesn't have to be me, but anyone that stands up for all of the people. Anyone that put God on the throne, someone you can't see, can't touch, can't feel, but allows to live in you to assure that God gets the glory. And if you're not doing that, you're supporting the devil. And that means every last one of you. I don't care if you my wife, my children, my parents, my grandparents, my siblings, whatever you are. If you're not standing up for God, you're standing up for the devil. And you're going to get more of the devilishness. But, like God, he sent me, this little plain old black nigger boy that you call, with no money, to stand before you and speak for God. And I want to see who you're going to listen to, God or the devil. Bye-bye.